welcome back everybody as the players are getting ready for game 2. LYON take on Team Liquid, and Team Liquid draw first blood in this best of 3 Fearless series. Azael, it was a comeback victory, but a victory nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's tough about that one from my point of view for LYON is that it was like, LYON made a lot of really good plays, but then they also made a lot of really unforced errors, right?
Yeah.
They kind of gifted TL away back into the game, which is the tough part about it. And that kind of makes those games a little bit tough to swallow because they kept making a really good play, but every time they make a really good play, it was immediately followed by an overchase into giving away a bunch of deaths.
Yep, whether it was the bot lane dive, even like Saint going through that one roam, you can see they're trying to make the play mid, but then he gets picked off. Rough stuff. So I'm looking just for cleaner execution on the follow-up from LYON. The initial plays, I love the look. Can they, rein in that aggression from that position? Because Team Liquid are a team that will be able to match that if you just keep giving them opportunities to get back into the game. But now LYON are on blue side, Team Liquid on the red side. That will change up the priority of pick and ban. And also, we will not get things like the Azir, the Varus, some of these really high priority picks so far this split.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nefiri is going to be banned out. UmTi has had some very good games, one in particular, especially against Shopify, where he was dominating on that pick. So that is going to be taken away. Licorice going to be grabbing the Rumble here, which is definitely a super high priority pick for Impact. So a bit of a denial, but also a strong pick for himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's see what Impact wants to play into that one. As when you see the enemy top laner locked in, oftentimes we can't just lock our top laner in immediately, then go for something like the jungle, show less of what our other lanes will look like. And there's still a couple big options. He's hovering the Ambessa, hover the Jace. Both of those can make a certain amount of sense, but the Galio, more true counter pick.
Yeah, exactly. The Galio, we've seen this matchup quite a few times, actually. And Licorice, last time he played it was against Whippo, where he actually got solo killed by the Rumble. So we'll see how he can do on the other side now.
Yeah, but the idea of the Galio, you have that magic shield, so you're able to just survive in the lane. Assuming it's going topside, that's definitely the expectation. Theoretically, you could swap it around, but it's going to be paired with the Pantheon regardless here.
Oh, this is interesting.
Has gone more into the jungle role. I used to get excited about support Pantheon. I really don't anymore. You really expect it to go to UmTi now.
Yeah, it is likely to go jungle, but Core is one of the guys who did actually like the Heartsteel Pantheon quite a bit. That has been nerfed, so it's not as strong, but still does give them quite a bit of global pressure on the map here. I'm expecting Galio to go top. You have Pantheon here, so you're already looking pretty heavily towards like a dive style comp. I do think when you're playing this style, you want someone to play towards in the side lane. If you're going to play only for fights, then you're going to need that hard engage, someone to dive in that you can then kind of throw down the Galio ultimate to get in the middle of the team.
Could be the Pantheon, maybe the double ult.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
Dive the back line.
I would love if they have a strong side laner to pair with this, though, right? If this is your top jungle, grab a mid laner who can play heavily through sides. That allows you to have that threat always of in that side lane 1v1, all of a sudden it becomes a 2v1. It becomes a 3v1 where you can pull off dives, so you can really blow open the game in that way. Especially against a player like APA who loves to play that sort of side lane style. This is not a pick for it. I did really feel like it could kind of fit their style.
But then you think about how APA plays the Cassiopeia. He plays it like a split pusher,
I mean, he does love being in side lanes on pretty much every champ, but it is not traditionally like a really good side lane champ because it can be pretty vulnerable out in those side lanes. But that being said, hey, with the Galio, with the Pantheon, maybe you are going to be safe to really kind of push. It's just not like a split push champ, right? Either way, their counter engages.
This is how Team Liquid fix it, though. They're like, APA, you keep getting picked in the side lane with Gas. All right, we'll pick 2 champs that can back you up.
I mean, the counter engage on their team is nasty. I will say that. Like, if you're trying to look to actually engage on whatever their bot lane is going to be, Yeon has obviously still been really good for the team. Then you have Galio ultimate coming through. You're having to walk through Miasma. You're having to watch out for the Petrifying Gaze. Like, all of these tools that are there to actually answer as you try to dive through. I will say, having some kind of like longer range on the line side can be nice against these style of comps to be able to kind of poke and prod at the Cassio. We are just seeing some of these bans that are AD carry bans down from TL. They're the ones that are banning out Xayah, one of these really safe picks. And you can see on the other side, the Ezreal and the Kaisa are both taken away. So they're banning both the Kaisa as one of these pairings that is really good to kind of follow up on the dive. But also the Ezreal and the Kaisa are Ezreal and the Xayah, excuse me, are the 2 safest AD carries that kind of absorbing that dive. So with both of those being gone, there's a lot more options. I mean, Jhin is one of these options that really is great for following up on hard engage because you throw down the Pantheon ult, you throw down all these things, and then you kind of have the Jhin ult open up. This is a really aggressive pairing, and it could still be Pantheon support, but now we're going to find out if it is going to be a support counter pick here on 5 or if it is jungle for last.
I'll tell you right now, picking Pantheon into Milio, really tough. That soccer ball will knock you right back out whenever you try and go in. So instead it's the Nautilus?
I mean, any hard engage is going to be the same kind of issue, right?
Yeah.
If the Milio is really on point, that is a difficulty. That being said, you know, for someone like the Nautilus, even if you do get knocked back on your Q, you can still throw down the ultimate.
Yeah.
That's not really easy to avoid. And you are going to have that safety of the Milio for something like AoE CC that you have, like if it's a big Petrifying Gaze or a big taunt on multiple members. As long as Milio is positioning appropriately and being behind them, you can actually AoE cleanse that from your team, which is so powerful.
True.
So Milio really good at teams that are really reliant on their CC for that powerful engage, as long as you're positioning well yourself. So I actually really like it. To me, it's kind of like the new era version of the Lucian Nami. Obviously, Lucian Nami still is a lot more popular, but it can work quite well with it. You can obviously throw in the shields, he steps forward, you get the passive damage coming in from Milio, and you do have that safety of the ultimate always there. But double AD carry, plus you kind of have this enchanter here to buff them both up. You can use your W to extend the range on both of these AD carries in the team fights. And I think it's a pretty solid all-around draft here. For LYON, it's a very different style of composition than what they went for last time, which was more about that kind of like one punch in the team fight.
Yep.
Different
look.
A lot higher DPS.
See if it works for them. Non-subscribers, we'll see you back in 30 seconds. But for everybody else sticking with us here, we got Team Liquid LYON right around the corner. And like you just said, Azael, different look for LYON. I think a very... maybe that's what they need, because that last attempt did not quite work out for them. Obviously, the Nocturne, you can only play it once in Fearless, and you're not going to be able to draft something exactly the same. But now, much more let them come to us type of style that we'll see from LYON going forward. We'll see if that works out for them, because Team Liquid, they do have some very solid engage options. If you give them the chance to start off those fights and you're not ready for those fights, you can get caught unaware and blown up. So Team Liquid LYON, Team Liquid up in the series 1-0. LYON still, to this point, trying to prove that they can take a game off of one of the top 4 teams, yet to do it.
And we'll see if Yeon can get a win on Kalista. Kalista so far in the LTA North, most of it is banned out, but when it is let through, people very clearly have a plan for it. And Yeon actually, has lost both of his games so far on this split. You can see the TL AD carry history here. A lot of time there with double lift. Then
Make time stop, Azael. What's going on? How is Yeon the longest tenured AD carry in TL history?
Well, you see, he played more games with the team and stayed with them
that's
for
how
longer.
It works, but how come my perception of time passing doesn't align with that graphic? That's what I have an issue with.
Because as you get older, your brain starts to deteriorate. The memory isn't as good anymore.
I have passed that 26 mark that you mentioned last week. Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough out here.
All right,
I'll look forward to that getting worse, though. But
before it gets better.
No, it's never going to get better. No.
Okay.
We had double lift, obviously. The most successful era that TL ever had really was built around double lift. Then they brought in tactical. They had a brief time with Hansama, and then it has been Yeon ever since then. And Yeon has been stellar for the team. But again, they haven't yet won with this Kalista so far this split. They're one of the only teams that has actually been getting it. This is the 3rd time they will have played it. It's only been played now 5 games, including this one. And it has lost 3 out of the 4 so far, including 0-2 for Yeon. And it is worth noting, I assume you're going to talk about the electrocute, which is super aggressive here for Hena. So I am thinking he's going to be going pretty heavily into lethality.
Goes for another aggressive trade, gets hooked by CoreJJ, who predicted it. Yeon, big damage, as he's just stacking up all the Rens. And then LYON's both having to walk away.
Yep, they are going to be able to
UmTi, he went for an invade, and Oddielan catches him in the jungle.
Oh, no.
UmTi getting punished right now in the 1v1. Can he somehow turn it around? The Q cooldown. First blood to UmTi.
Conqueror stacks up, and in those extended trades, Hena's going to have to actually flash out of there. No barrier, no flash. I was going to say, in these Milio lanes, if you can actually trade aggressively early and then get to when you have a couple levels, you have your W, you can start to sustain up and turn things around. But as a result of getting that second big chunk in, Hena's going to have to base, and now his base actually gets canceled, so this is brutal.
No heal on Lyonz, no summoner spells on Hena. Very scary position, but it looks like Team Liquid are not going to go for any kind of dive.
Yeah, I think they just weren't sure, would Oddielan just path right straight back towards bot after losing that fight? It looked like he was going to win, but again, Conqueror gets fully stacked. That's where things can go bad. And Pantheon has quite short cooldowns. He had already taken away that red, was down on health. So the initial start of this fight is always going to look much better for Sejuani because you spend all your spells, you get the aftershock, you're looking, okay, surely I cannot lose this.
Yeah.
But Conqueror healing plus the short Q cooldown there, the Qs come back up, you get that short Q, and you're able to sustain through that, take down the Pantheon. Very close for Oddielan, but ends up being UmTi coming out on top by the slimmest of margins. But UmTi, I do think, has been having some good games for the team.
Yeah, I mean, that last game was incredible. That time, it looked, like you said, it started off for Oddie, but UmTi's able to turn it back around. And now with a lead in the jungle here, let's see what he can do with it. He's linked up with CoreJJ, who's making sure that he's able to get this bottom scuttle right now, as Oddielan already got that top one.
Yeah, we'll see how Hena and Lyonz are going to be able to continue to do in this bot lane 2v2. Summoners are missing pretty much across the board. There's one flash on each side, one on Lyonz, one on Yeon. All the other summoners are there, gone.
And it looks like the Raptors are about to spawn UmTi. So this is, I believe, where he started. And now he's just on rotation, going to go back towards it. Oddie is not interested in contesting. Instead, he's heading bot side.
Though. This is so rough because they didn't actually track that they warded this out. I mean, Core walked over there, so they could have had an idea that a ward would be there. They didn't track it. He's actually going to get double spotted, so he's just going to waste so much time. And this is going to get counter ganked by UmTi, very likely.
Exactly. UmTi went for the Raptors, and he's heading towards the bottom side. Actually going to go for a reset. Okay, they don't want to commit to it. Maybe not feeling fully confident, despite the fact that Hena doesn't have the summoner spells.
But look at the jungle gap already. He's 3 camps ahead of where Oddielan is. Oddielan's still level 3 here, going towards 5 minutes, excuse me, which is very, very rough at this point in the game. So he has really been put down. And that is going to be difficult. You know, if you get way too behind as a tank, obviously you do still have the utility, you have the CC that you can offer, but you can get pushed around the map very heavily by UmTi, who, you know, his clear is going to be accelerating. Ooh,
CoreJJ finds a nice little hook onto Lyonz right there. Cozy Campfire to keep them healed up. And Hena threatens the damage back onto CoreJJ. You can see, even when Core starts it, he does take a lot of damage back from the Lucian Milio combo.
Yep, he does. Lyonz was able to time the Q pretty well there. It looked like on the hook, but he could still get that passive auto down. And of course, your Aftershock is procced. The bigger problem here for Lyonz is that Hena was completely out of mana. So once he's out of mana, he can't really just stay around and actually rely on just those auto attacks. As Saint getting pressured here under tower by APA. APA has the early tier. He's pushing in. Of course, Saint going to be stacking up a tier of his own. And these lanes against the Cassio really just come down to how many Qs can you dodge. If you're dodging the Qs, you're generally going to be pretty okay in these kind of matchups. But if not, it gets very, very difficult. Sometimes in these kind of like Cassio versus ADC's mid, people used to go Q max even, or at least 3 points Q into E. He is actually just going for E max, but you can kind of play around extra points in Q sometimes just for the additional poke.
Yeah.
And sometimes Cassio players do really like that. It used to be tech that I saw a fair bit against Tristana mid when that was pretty popular. So APA doing well, definitely on comfort here. They have the jungle prio, they have the mid prio, and Impact's doing well in top side. Already has his cow early on this reset, so it's just going to be the grubs here uncontested. And things looking very comfortable, I would say, for TL thus far.
And even though we haven't seen action since that jungle 1v1 kill, CoreJJ has now linked up twice with UmTi, so still getting onto the map. Team Liquid are still making these global plays, as Lion have yet to find much on the Rift so far. I mean, they're on the bot side. Maybe Oddielan with this priority on the bot lane and mid can look for the dragon. It looks like Lion are setting up for that play.
Yep, they are getting bot push, so that will be what they're looking towards. And you can see that Corki was able to then push in mid, so now they are going to have that first move towards it. But there's pings from TL on it, and I think they are just nervous about their position in the game. They know that UmTi could show up, and they could still try to potentially contest here. I just don't think they have that confidence to just straight up start it in their opponent's face.
And with how much UmTi has taken away from Oddie, there's a chance that maybe they're thinking like up in XP.
And I really like, you know, when you're comparing, this to me shows that there is good diversity in the game. There's only one overlap, and it's this year, which basically everyone has to play. And it's been such different styles of champions. And this is going to be a big question, I think, you know, for a lot of teams going into Fearless, especially when we get towards playoffs and best of fives. You know, APA hasn't been playing any of the melee champs. They are still quite powerful. How will they deal with that? But Lion looking to contest this dragon. Yeah,
Team Liquid are starting it off. Hena getting some good damage onto Yeon there. APA is level 7, though. Can be the carry. Petrifying Gaze lands onto Oddielan. UmTi gets another kill as Yeon will save his support's life. Team Liquid can still look for more, though. CoreJJ does not want to go for it. Team Liquid will just take the dragon and the kill.
Yeah, and Yeon hitting 6 there forced the flash out of Hena because then he just ults in Core. And Hena knows if I get knocked up here, I'm going to get CC chained 100 to 0. So he flashes the wall, and they are able to come out on top. Oddielan just not that tanky, and is going to get tagged and ends up being punished very heavily again. He is so far behind. It's 900 gold lead individually in the jungle matchup now, and that is massive. And we are only 8 minutes into the game. Here's the comms.
I will core. I will core. Yeah.
Sejuani dead.
Put it up. I cannot go. I cannot go. Sorry. Nice shot. Keep holding. Good job.
Let me check a couple.
Well played, guys. Well played. I'm gonna sweep this wall. I cannot stay.
Going mid.
Great stuff there. Whoever was saying slowly, that's my favorite one to hear, because sometimes you get hype and you're like, go, and then nope, slow it down. We don't have to get too aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only way you lose on a fight like that is if you kind of over chase and give up your positioning, like you all funnel into the tri-brush and they're kind of all standing around there killing you as you're walking in. So definitely, you know, the good comms there from TL. They're able to find the pick on a Sejuani. You could hear them calling out like Sejuani one shot, like just go fully commit to it. You know, UmTi was stepping forward, you know, uses the Aegis to block up all that damage that is coming in, and is able to just kind of kite back. And then his core gets slow, he gets ulted in from Yeon. He says, I can't go, so they're not going to continue the fight. And just good comms there from TL. And winning that fight is definitely putting them in an even better spot.
Early game, I would say huge resounding success. 3 grubs plus the dragon, 2 kills onto the jungler, who's on Pantheon and can bring that gold anywhere on the map at very short notice. Team Liquid in full control right now, but mid lane, we're actually making a play onto APA. Talk about 100 to 0. APA was not ready for that Glacial Prison.
Yeah, APA gets punished pretty big time there, though, but
Licorice in trouble. Yeah, he has the flash available, but he is taunted up, stunned up, big damage. Team Liquid will follow the flash. Licorice will throw down the equalizer, but there's just no escape. UmTi will miss a couple of Qs, but it's just a matter of inevitability. Feats of Warfare claim that's 3 kills to UmTi.
Yeah, UmTi just solo grabs the Feats of Warfare there. They can see the teleport coming in. They're just going to go on APA again. Saint is low on mana with no rockets.
Oddie now actually could be in some trouble, but instead, you were right, onto Saint. Flash available, he will use it. Team Liquid cannot lock down the Corki for good. They don't quite have the damage to burst him yet.
Yeah, that was a nice supporting play there from UmTi, because AP is TPing in. He sees, oh crap, Audie's standing on top. They're just going to kill me again. So then UmTi has to come in with the ulti. You know, I think that is less the aggressive play, even though it got out the flash, and more just, okay, my mid laner's going to die again here if I don't ult in to protect him. So well played there by UmTi. Now he completes the Sundered Sky, so he is really strong right now.
Exactly what I was talking about. You know, you pick the Pantheon, you pick the Galio for the
there you go.
For APA in the well, this wasn't in the side lane, this was in the mid lane. But
exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Different place, different situation, not all the same.
I'll take credit. I'll take credit regardless. Yeah. Impact getting a little roasted.
No one
right
will give
here.
it to you, but you would take it.
It's a self-victory. Nobody has to agree with me either. That's the secret right there. We saw that LYON actually went up and took 1 grub, but Team Liquid can push them off it just fine. They are throwing their wallet around right now, specifically UmTi throwing that wallet around right now. So picks up 4 grubs. And now they'll be able to take these turrets a little bit faster.
Yep, 5 grubs going to be feeling really good. Ooh, nice predict.
And a hit with that Q, knocked up as well. Yeon going all in onto Hena right now, but Audie is nearby, so CoreJJ does not want to follow up. Hena gets out of there.
Yeah, it's really interesting, you know, seeing the Electrocute here. Obviously, it can be a very strong early rune, just like the amount of damage ever since it got buffed quite a while ago now. I don't know, 4 or 5 patches, whatever it was. You've been seeing it more. But when I saw him going for that, I thought he was going to go like Collector and like early lethality and like, you know, get an early serrated Dirk and just try to like pound lane. And maybe that was his plan, but then lane went bad, so he's like, never mind. But it looks like he's just going towards Essence Reaver, so he's just going for this kind of like standard Lucian build that is that scaling crit Lucian, is my assumption at this point. So, you know, Electrocute is just going to be straight up worse than PTA later on. And that's kind of, you know, it's a fine trade-off. It's not like Electrocute is going to be worthless, but clearly he was indexing into this, thinking they were going to be able to get these really good short aggressive trades in lane and maybe chip down Yeon and create a big advantage there. It did not happen, so now he is kind of at a slight disadvantage with his runes going forward.
And I'll say credit where it's due. In my opinion, it's because of Core's ability to counter play. They got that first big chunk on the initial level 1 all-in, or not all-in, but, you know, poke, getting that Electrocute. The second time, Core reads it, hits that Q, and then Hena and Lyonz are in trouble, and they're like, okay, well, Hena had to go for that rough back, and then things kind of fell apart for laning phase. But he does have the Essence Reaver completed now, so Hena will not be out of mana. for hopefully the foreseeable future.
Well, probably never again, realistically.
Yeah.
Like, he should be chilling. You're not going to have any more mana issues unless something really weird happens. But he's going to be feeling good about that. You can see Yeon working towards his first item.
Could be in trouble. Has the flash available, has the barrier as well. Uses one, will he use the other? Miasma keeping him in place. APA picking up the kill.
That was a little bit of a weird positioning there from Hena. You know, he didn't have any eyes down there and just tried to walk in.
Yeah. Oh, but maybe we get a play onto Yeon instead. It's a battle of AD carries. Both of them with targets on their back. Yeon gets out.
Yeah, but the problem is that when you are the Lucian face-checking that super fed Pantheon, not a lot of way to get out, and I think it was absolutely correct to not flash because you saw that TL, as they're going for this pick, are walking past him to where he would flash, so UmTi's walking to the other side of him, so even if you flash from that spot, you're still going to die, and UmTi probably doesn't even have to use his to follow, so you just have to accept the fact that you've messed up and give that up at that point. You can see they're going to send Saint down towards bot lane, but he needs that support because, again, they have no vision down here. UmTi is waiting.
Here he is.
And
like a shark in water.
Lyonz is around.
Gets the full stack passive, and now sees Lyonz actually goes in onto him. Gets knocked back. Saint big damage. UmTi has to throw up the E shield. And will attempt to get away. Saint's actually going in. Miasma locking him down, but one more rocket should have it. Flash out of UmTi. Ooh, that was a whoopsie.
Yeah, they do actually get that flash. It was really well played by Lyonz. He comes down there to cover. He has the Q to actually knock back UmTi on his stun, so he couldn't actually close that gap. And then he was kind of, you're slowed and you're in this awkward positioning. That being said, at the very least, they are still looking. Not going to spot him. They did at least deny, you know, a wave at the tower away from Saint because there was a full cannon wave at the tower, so they get more tower damage down. You can see the bot tier 1 is very close to falling, and that would give them that first tower. They already have the feats of warfare, and they obviously already have the feats of strength overall, so it's not that big of a deal, but still going to be nice to be able to knock down that tower for some more gold.
But instead, it's actually mid lane. Yeon already used the flash, and Oddielan getting himself on the board. Pantheon ult comes in, but not in time. Team Liquid cannot keep Yeon alive.
Not going to be able to answer there. And UmTi has not been able to find the most effective ults on the Pantheon so far. That one seemed pretty late, honestly, but maybe thought there was going to be an angle for counterplay. The problem with Pantheon ult into specifically the Milio is that you know exactly where he's going to land, and it's so easy to always hit the Q. And it's not just the fact that you get knocked back out of your W range, it's the fact that there's this pretty big slow as well on the Milio Q. You know, it is a 41% slow even on rank 1. It scales a little bit with your AP, so it's like you just can't really get back in there.
Yeah.
And Milio definitely a very strong answer to that Pantheon, so we'll see if he can kind of find some more effective ults later on, even though he's been owning besides that. And
despite the fact that UmTi's been owning this game, kind of controlling the pace of things, it's not like it's ballooned out of control for Lion. They're within striking distance, and I think there's arguments that Pantheon will fall off eventually.
Yeah, and just any fight that he's not there, you're not behind, right? Like, he basically is the gold lead. It's a 1.4K, 800 of that is in UmTi's pockets. All the other little slight gold advantages don't really matter. So, you know, if you can have a fight where either he's just not a factor because he's getting peeled by the Milio, or he's just straight up not there, then that is going to look pretty good for you. You can see Hena there, again, just kind of dashing in, you know, gets the passive damage from that Milio, proxy electrocute, but APA pretty tanky here with that roll already stacking. So Cassio's not that easy to chip out, has pretty good sustain too.
Yeah, working towards that second item, big spike there as Team Liquid are controlling around the Herald. Lion actually get the Scuttle Crab though, so they'll spot this going down. Do they want to contest? They have Equalizer. They have a lot of flashes available, but instead they're going for the bottom lane play here. So Saint going to take the turret. That means that the rest of the team might not want to go for this fight. Hard engage here onto Hena. Locked down, knocked up, taken out of the fight. That's the objective, plus a kill for Lion. Saint teleports in, but a little late. CoreJJ flies over the top, straight onto the Equalizer. Now Licorice roasting everybody! The Rumble shows up massive in the fight as Yeon's gonna run for the hills. Team Liquid, they thought they had the angle. There's a pause, we'll see what happened, but what a play from Lion.
Yeah, Liquid looking like a bit like Lion in game 1 there, honestly. They get the first good initial play, and then the overchase there, and it's Rumble in the jungle as they are piling in to this Equalizer, just getting roasted by APA. Discussing with the ref here, obviously having some sort of issue, so we'll give you an update as soon as we find out what happened there. But it was also a shutdown onto UmTi, so a lot of gold going over. It did feel like Lion had the initial split call, though, because Saint is getting free tower bot. Impact had already roamed towards mid, and he had not even moved. And Corki, again, is not a champion that you want to like TP into a fight, right? So I thought that their call was, we're just going to take the tier 1 bot, we're going to give up the Herald, and then I'm going to push in and deny waves and potentially even get some pressure on this tier 2 if TL's really slow to respond or something like that. But instead, they kind of like haphazardly walked up. Hena gets caught, he gets burst down, but then, you know, TL looked for a bit of an overchase, and they got punished pretty heavily by it.
And I mean, you said it yourself, it almost feels like what LYON did in game 1. They over-index into a fight, now into territory that's no longer theirs. And this time it's LYON catching that pop fly. I have confirmation that it looks like there was a bug reported by a member of, I believe, Team Liquid here. So officials are investigating that. We'll see if anything actually did happen in game. There's a lot going on in that specific zone. So heart goes out to whichever official needs to actually go back and review that footage. That one is going to be chaotic, to say the least.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll let you know as soon as we find out, you know, what the actual reported bug was. You know, maybe we can take a look and do some bug hunting ourselves, which is always fun to see if you can spot any sort of weird thing that was going on. But
I've never been a part of one of those.
It is a very close game thus far. Here is the replay one more time so we can watch this. This is what I'm talking about. Saint is already in a good position down on bot side. It's a good flash engage here. They use the flash from APA as well as CoreJJ, and it's just full CC chain, even with Milio cleansing that with his ult. It doesn't matter because you're on miasma. You're never going to be able to actually get out of there. And then this is where the overchase kind of happens here. As they're piling in, they send Core in kind of by himself here, and this is just the perfect angle for an equalizer. There's no flash on Core, there's no flash on APA. Core has to walk out the red carpet here and just gets taken down, and UmTi is fully split from the team. How are APA and Impact ever supposed to join there? You just can't, and that is why you gotta be careful about overchases in these tight quarters versus Rumble.
And I'm hearing from officials there was no bug after reviewing the footage. It was in fact a feature. So we're gonna hop back into game here, Azael, but that play now coming back to live. LYON have a lot of control on the rip, and it's still going. Because again, Yeon was getting chased when we went to the pause, and he's barbecued as well. That's 3 on the board for Licorice.
And just like that, Licorice is going to be, you know, big man on campus. He just got a lot of gold. They're going to be able to push down mid lane here and get probably the full tower. I don't think that Saint's going to be able to actually stop them because they have 5 grubs, 2 members here knocking this down. So TL will be able to get some gold back here. But this went from, you know, a nice little advantage. It was 1.4K for TL. After the tower, it is back to a 500 gold lead, but it was dead even right after that. So pretty big swing. And so much of this gold is all concentrated here on Licorice, which is even better than normal because when you are playing solo AP on a team, having gold concentrated on that member is so effective. Because if you can force people to have to actually respond to you by building MR when you are solo AP on a team with 2 AD carries, it is not very efficient.
Value.
Exactly. It's a lot of value there. So they're going to be really happy about this. He has the injuries. He has the second haunting guys. So now Licorice, we'll see what he can get done with that gold advantage.
Yeah, I mean, on his way to that second item, yes, of course, Impact should be still pretty comfortable in that side lane against him. He has built the magic resist already, but the rest of the team is going to be hurting a little more now. Dragon's up in 20 seconds, though, so that's where I want to bring our attention to next because Team Liquid, as we have a calling used, just some poke onto APA.
Yeah, like a little tickling.
Okay,
not a lot done there.
That's about sending a message right there.
And the message is, I didn't do very much with that ultimate. I wish I had it back. TP going to be coming in here mid lane, but it is just posturing for the dragon. And
Yeon's got to link up with the rest of the team, though. He's not there. Now he will be. So walking in with UmTi. LYON have to wait for Licorice to link up as well. Hena get some damage onto Impact. Use the Shield of Durant for that resistance, and he's fine. As now, Glacial Prison onto UmTi. He's not with the rest of his team. Might have to use the flash. There it is. Half health flashed away.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, he was just way too far up. Even with the shield, it's just not going to really get too much done for you. He can base and actually just ult back to the fight, which is going to be the call here. He's going to drop the Herald bots to try to put some pressure. TL are still staying around here. We'll see if they can actually commit to the fight. They just need to buy time now for UmTi to be able to look to join.
Yeah, he won't have the flash, though, so wherever he goes, he's going to be stuck there for a little bit here. LYON currently have their front-to-back drawn. Lyonz as the Milio trying to buy all that space for them. Big shield. And that's the breath of life. Hena now back up into the fight. In goes UmTi, but he's just taken out immediately. Popped like a balloon. Team Liquid have no jungler for the dragon fight. Oddie should be a free smite right here as Team Liquid maybe go for something afterwards. but they got to run away now, getting chased down by Lion, going for the hunt. Big flash, Quadra taunt from Impact isn't going to be enough as Team Liquid's damage dealers are trying to do what they can. APA's got to be the hero, but instead it's Saint. Double kill for the Corki. APA still alive, gets the shutdown. The carries are dead on Lion. What a close one.
Yeah, that was a really close fight, but kind of disjointed again from TL. UmTi goes in with the ult, but there's no flash on core. There's no one who can really be in a position to actually follow up. So this is, I think, after? No, this is right as they're going to be going in. The hook had already missed, so they go for it. The Breath of Life comes down. They get this initial kill, and the Galio ultimate comes in kind of so late that they're not really even being pressured off of him. So pretty disjointed there from TL. But then as Lion do push forward, the flash is forced there from the CoreJJ hook. They are able to secure this. They were going to try to look for the 50-50 with Yeon, trying to look for the Ren, but they're pushing in. Ooh. The flash forward from Impact looks really nice, but then you realize Yeon's not in range to actually auto-attack anyone. APA tries to get as much damage as he can done over the wall, but Licorice with that triple kill earlier, he has the additional stats. He's a little bit too tanky. They couldn't finish him off, and then they just pile in, get the additional kills. APA is the beneficiary of that fight on the TL side, gets a couple kills. He's looking really strong. He's on 2.5 items, and so he is going to be quite powerful, but it is going to be tough for TL. Definitely in some of these fights, if they're playing it like that, they need to be, more coordinated on when that engage goes through.
And Oddielan here, despite getting put down early, has made a lot of big impact plays, making another one here onto APA. Double Petrifying Gaze. He's stacking up the Conqueror. Saint's going to have to do all the damage here, but APA is actually trying through Oddielan. Not enough, not fast enough. Saint with the shutdown.
Yeah, and you can tell they got a little bit nervous about some potential counterplay coming through, so Licorice actually TP'd up there as well. As soon as that Sejuani ult missed, he immediately started TPing. Maybe they didn't have the exact timer on Pantheon ult, for example, which is just coming up right now. So maybe they're thinking, oh crap, Pantheon ult's going to come through and we need the extra man here, or this fight could go bad. Galio they saw on the bot side, so that wouldn't have been the play. But definitely could have been something like this. And now TL going to try to make a play on the other side of the map here. They are over here on Otacon, but they're tanking up that drain, which is not only going to deal damage to you and cut your resistances, it is healing it up. This time it looks like it will just be a trade on the other side of the map, so they're going to get the tier 1 in mid very likely, and the tier 2 top. So that is a lot of gold here going over to Lion. Still, Otacon is pretty
big buff.
Powerful.
Yeah, I mean,
it's definitely not bad.
It can set up a lot of plays, but it's going to be 3 minutes still that Baron. They won't be able to use it for that fight. So I don't know exactly what Team Liquid's going to get from this.
I mean, you just try to force, right? But this is kind of the issue now with the GA Otacon. I think it is significantly weaker than the other one, where you just kind of collect the flowers and you get the guaranteed experience and adaptive force. It really is dependent on you being able to find that good play, right? And if they can find a really good angle to get a pretty even fight, then you're going to get value from it. But a lot of times we see people often ending up in this situation where they're kind of like stressing about the buff expiring, and then they try to overforce and they just give over more gold than they're even getting in the play by like doing some really haphazard tower dive or something. So we'll see if TL can find a way to get value from that, because tier 2 top, tier 1 mid definitely has high value, and you can see now the items really starting to come through on this side. Saints on 2.5.
In my experience, this version of Otacon is just permission to throw a game. Oftentimes, go in, try and find the play, try and dive that turret. Now, if they time it correctly, they can try and play around to get onto the map faster to set up for the Baron. But as of right now, they can also just walk in. They're doing it just fine here. It's not going to be up for a minute 45, but Team Liquid already doing some homework, getting their wards down.
Yeah, and we may just see them kind of posturing really aggressively towards the Dragon for the next Dragon, because they're already on 2 Dragons, right? The Dragon's going to be up faster than the Baron. You can go down there, get your vision. If they try to contest your vision line early, maybe you still have the GA, you try to fight them and try to look for something like that. Sometimes you'll also see people before a big objective fight just kind of throw their bodies in there, not use their major cooldowns, and try to force cooldowns out from their opponents, then just kind of walk back after the GA, and now all of a sudden you have all your ultimates, but they use theirs to kill your GAs off. So you can get value in some of these different ways, but it's definitely not guaranteed.
But what they've done so far with the buff is basically just control vision. I mean, Lion have a very dark map right now. They have, I think, that 1 ward, 2 wards down, very shallow in their own jungle. They don't have a lot of confidence to be able to walk up into these bushes. Team Liquid currently are controlling that. And now, as you highlighted, they're shifting their focus to the bottom side. They put their wards down top. Now they're dropping their wards down around this Dragon. Yes, the stacking was delayed because Lion were able to win that earlier fight, get that pick onto UmTi, and then get that Dragon. But this third one looks like Team Liquid will have firm control over it. Lion are not walking up to contest immediately.
Yeah, and while Chemtech is not the biggest prize of the Souls, it is still a Soul, and I will say, when you're looking at the carries on TL's side, they are both kind of like drain tanky. When you're looking at both the Kalista as well as the Cassio, they can definitely get value out of that with double lifesteal. We have Bloodthirster Bork, and we also just have a pretty damn tanky APA who now just completed his 3rd item right before this, so there's not going to be any challenge at the Dragon for Lion. They are just pushing up top lane, trying to establish vision control here around the Baron that's about to spawn, but it does mean you gave TL their 3rd Dragon for free, which does mean one more mistake, one pick, one bad smite, and they do get Soul, which absolutely gives TL a clear win condition that they can be aiming towards.
Yeah, might not be the Dragon that everybody wants for the Soul, but it still has its use case here for Team Liquid, and they'll take it if it's offered. Lion currently are still up in gold, though, so I don't think that they need to just give things over to Team Liquid. They actually are in a position where they can start looking to contest them for stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think they just felt, hey, we don't have vision. We don't want to walk in blind. We don't want to catch ourselves into a bad spot and kind of throw the game. Their composition does scale really well. You have double AD carry, so as long as you're piloting it well, you have really high consistent damage. And so maybe they're just thinking, all right, let's get some time for Saint and Hena to try to get towards their 3rd items. We can see Saint is going to have his LDR very soon. Hena looks like he's going to be going towards IE very likely, which is a long ways off.
Yeah.
But is a really high damage build.
Still doing damage right now onto Yeon, but Petrifying Gaze! APA playing hero for his AD carry. Yeon gets the kill. Lion lose their damage as Yeon getting roasted. Saint is there! The rocket snipe onto Yeon. Core in trouble now as Licorice is showing that he also can provide that damage per second for the team. One more rocket. Lion gets it with the flame spitter. Team Liquid lose 2 as Lion find another play.
Yeah, nicely done there by Lion. They do force the play. It was a great Petrifying Gaze from APA to kind of turn this around, but then Saint is able to kind of bend the bullet, gets a rocket around the outside to finish off Yeon, and this is the advantage of having a multi-threat comp, right? When Yeon is getting pushed back, there's not a lot of damage coming out from TL, but you still have Licorice, you still have Saint, even after you lose Hena. They're going to start up this Baron, but they get the TP out from APA. They realize, no shot, we can actually commit to this, so the fight still works out.
Does Team Liquid? Nah, okay, they're not going to go for it. I was thinking, is there a world where Team Liquid now go for it?
They could start a 2-man. It would have been risky, but we can look back. The initial play, it looks like they're getting so much damage here onto Yeon. This Petrifying Gaze comes through right in time as he gets stunned by Oddielan. If he had actually got that stun off first onto APA before the Petrifying Gaze, they probably could have got that kill onto Yeon very, very easily. Yeon then, another great equalizer is placed on him by Licorice. This was pretty perfect because it forced him to actually flash away from the rest of his team. Saint gets that rocket in to finish him off, and then Licorice, as the overheat expires, gets back in there, and we are back to fighting.
Ooh, and we're Glacial prisoning onto UmTi. Flash away from the Pantheon, has the team with him. APA is there for the damage. Now Oddielan might be in trouble, but the equalizer goes down. UmTi in trouble. Licorice gets another kill and is dominating this game. 6-1. Team Liquid now might find him. Flash over the wall. Licorice answers in kind. Gets back to safety. No equalizer, but the Flame Spitter will still do a lot of damage. Team Liquid are going to try and reapproach here. They do not have their jungler, but they have impact on the flank. APA and Yeon trying to position aggressively to get some damage threats down as Baron is the focus. Here comes impact. They got Hena. Team Liquid's carries are doing it. Licorice falls as well. Yeon gets the shutdowns as APA will continue chasing onto Oddielan. Shut down to the mid laner. Double kill to the AD carry. Team Liquid will steal the Baron.
They're going to be able to grab the Baron. That was massive for TL as Core's able to find a great hook, gets in the middle of the team. That sets up for Impact to come in with the ulti on top of all of Lion. Buys the space for APA and Yeon to get in there, and UmTi can breathe a sigh of relief after getting picked off prior to that Baron. That was a really pivotal moment here in the game. We can watch it one more time. The big problem here, in my mind, is just that Saint and Hena are all squeezed into this corridor together. You need to be spread. It is more difficult with this exact Baron pit, though, because this wall kind of squishes you in. And so they were just really overlapped on each other. And you can also see, as they kite back, the only person that Saint can actually hit is Impact, whereas the carries, from TL were kind of free-firing. They're getting more damage out. That's such a big moment. You can see TL coaching staff on the right, Lion coaching staff on the left there. Very different reactions to that play, and rightfully so, as Lion, just a couple minutes ago was up 2K, now they're down 2K, and the Soul is spawning here in 40 seconds. Impact 8-4 all-time on his Galio. and is having a solid game.
Yeah, despite a rough start to last game, he's had a great second half. Azael, as he was able to turn it back around to the Renekton, and this time around on the Galio, big flank there.
Look at this, though. Licorice just got his death cap now. So he's level 15. He's very close to 16. One wave might get it for him, and he has death cap. So if he can get 16 and get a big equalizer, who knows how this fight goes.
Okay, UmTi actually hit by the blast cone. Empowered one as well, but that Dragon Soul fight about to happen here. 7 seconds.
Look at bot, though. So they're not going to answer bot at all. They're just going to drop bot lane and try to force a fight. Impact, again, is on the flank, though, which makes things very, very difficult for LYON because they can get pincered here.
Yeah, and there's also extra movement speed in the river here for Team Liquid. LYON have to be very careful on their approach. There's really not an easy target because if they go in to the fight, Impact has that flank. If they go into Impact, he's tanky. Equalizer goes down, big damage. UmTi actually getting roasted, but instead it's actually Oddielan that will fall first. Jungler down for LYON, and Team Liquid will get the Dragon Soul.
Yeah, they're going to be able to grab this no problem there. I really wish that LYON just kind of went through mid, got one wave, or even just part of a wave for Licorice. You can see as he walked by, he got like 1 minute of experience, hit 16, and the equalizer was not placed very well. I do think he's been playing a great game, but he kind of put it right against the wall, so it was only on APA, and then as he steps back, there's no threat on anyone else, and now TL are really going to reap the rewards here. Going to be pushing up through bot, through mid, taking down these towers, extending the gold lead, and it is going to be very tough for LYON to be able to come back from here. But we'll see if they can kind of just stabilize, you know, for their hopes. They really just have to try to defend the base, you know, keep them off of these inhibitors, continue farming, and hopefully you can find an advantageous engage later on.
LYON have been so close so many times, but it's the little things that seem to be holding them back. Being level 15 for Licorice, and that game one going a little too aggressive on some of those plays. It feels like, man, they are just knocking on the door of the top 4, but they still cannot get across that finish line and enter into the conversation fully, as they are now again behind in gold. Team Liquid with Dragon Soul and the remnants of that Baron getting that 4K gold lead here. They have a massive advantage on the map here, and actually they're going to go for another play, teleporting in. They're locking down Oddielan, who just doesn't have the team close enough to back him up. Oddie's down again.
Yeah, Oddie's going to be down again. You can see they're just trying to TP out of there just to survive. They are going to be able to do it, but can LYON get out?
Yeah, UmTi had the flash available, but not going to commit onto it. And LYON just lose their jungler and will try and catch waves.
I mean, Hena finally completes that IE, so that is something, but you're looking over at APA. He's almost done his 5th full item, and you just got your 3rd. Hena is just so far behind the pace of the game at this point that he's really not been threatening whatsoever. You know, 2.5K down on what Yeon is pretty rough.
And I think Yeon learned his lesson from the last game. The QSS completed. He's like, all right, if I'm going to be the focus, I'm going to actually survive. As now CoreJJ focusing on the engage. Team Liquid with the flank from APA. LYONz will fall at their turret. Team Liquid do not care. Diving between them. Double kill to Yeon, and they get the clean ace. Team Liquid with a roaring statement here to start off the group stage versus LYON. Put our names back in that conversation. The game versus DSG was an anomaly, not the new norm. Team Liquid play it clean in game 2, get all the early objectives, and there's just only Oddie left here to try and defend the base. You just know a Sejuani is not going to be enough. Team Liquid, take your victory lap. GG!
End the game now. End the game.
Oh, no.
Let him die. Good job.
Let me die?
Oh? No. No. Let's